Buenas tardes. Welcome to Sábado Gigante. You're looking at the parent and how they move. You're looking at the kid and you're forecasting, damn, that kid's going to be just like their parents in 10 years.
Hey, how you doing, Bob? Hey, what's going on, George? Like, instead I'm seeing like a lady with like Daisy Dukes and like tattoos up to the top of her thighs, or a dude that looks like he just smoked like a half a pound. Just turn it off. Just unsubscribe. Just don't look at it. But nope. That's the society we are in now. Is like, I want to seek what I want to cancel, then I want to identify what's going to be canceled, and then I want to voice it to that person or that entity that they are canceled.
I always sing all by myself. Buenas tardes. Welcome to Sábado Gigante.
And it's just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Speaking of,
where's Triple Threat at?
Yeah, a boy K couldn't make it. I think he's international today, as a matter of fact. He's
International K?
International K, baby. You know that
ITK?
KGB be global.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, shit. Shit's heating up over there in Ukraine. He got to get over.
Yo, it'd be hilarious if all these years K was an undercover spy for some shit, and then we're like, yo.
You never know. You never know. I just hope that if he is, man, he's getting that guapolina.
I hope so. Yeah. So we started with an old school joint, the Just the Two of Us song, and just triggered something in my head. I want to see if you do something similar, just because would you consider yourself a petty person?
To an extent.
All right. Because I feel
in some ways I'm petty, in some ways I'm not. I'm a Gemini, bro. I got both sides. I got the petty version of me and the non-petty version.
So I oftentimes I'll guilt my wife because, all right, busy household, like you and probably every listener that's listening to us. Shout out to you, individual. So you don't really got a lot of time to hang with your significant other, right? It's always around the kids. So oftentimes, like, there's like little moments where I like to share, minutes with my wife, right? So it's like our first cup of coffee in the morning. Like, I'd like to just try to have that be like, for 10 minutes, just like us. Maybe we just sit in silence drinking our coffee, or maybe we'll, have a quick chat before the kids and the zoo starts. We got to do that on vacation a couple times because everybody was sleeping in. So we would get up earlier than our kids on vacation, and we were over at the Animal Kingdom Resort in Orlando. So we would come out to the balcony and, sip coffee, enjoy that. So I look for those moments, right?
Right.
My wife is also, I turned her into a Knicks fan. So we'll watch Knicks games together. Like, she's my co-pilot when we're watching Knicks games, and it's dope. But moments where either she's not interested or something gets in the way where she can actually make it to one of these, moments, and she chooses not to, I go straight into petty mode. And one of the things, as you mentioned that song at the beginning at the open of the show right now, it triggered, like, I always sing all by myself to guilt her. And now my kids do it to her too. So anytime she's like not trying to cooperate, and like, all right, then I guess I'll do it. Oh, but like with the whole act and everything. So I don't know. I don't know if you probably don't go that dramatic, but what are your moments of pettiness?
I mean, no, there's all kinds of pettiness. We're always trying to one up each other on who's right about something.
Oh, but that's normal.
No, but then it gets on the petty level, like,
oh,
like it's just petty. this is so I sent my wife yesterday. Obviously, I'm sure you guys do the same thing. It's an ongoing thing nowadays where you send your significant other a bunch of memes and your friends or whatever
Yeah, dick
things you
pics.
find on social media. No, not dick pics. If you have to send your significant other dick pics,
There's a problem.
there's probably a problem there. But I sent her this clip of it was like talking about that married couples with kids when they, especially in the beginning when they first have kids, they go through a really rough patch because they find all their energy goes into the children and pleasing the children and raising the children. Therefore, it takes a lot away from the interaction between the two, the
Yeah.
husband and the wife.
Mhm.
And I sent that to her, and she kind of got a little. Well, she kind of made it like she got a little upset about it that I sent it, but I was like, it's not a bad thing. I'm just
Just the way it
my
is.
thing about me and my relationship is that, and she doesn't necessarily reciprocate it. Is I like to acknowledge the good, bad, and the ugly. I think
Yeah.
if you don't acknowledge it and you just leave an elephant in a room, the elephant's gonna shit all over the place, and you can't live there anymore.
Mhm.
So, I just that it's not about being. I mean, I know I'm going off petty subject, but it's just
It
about
turns it turns into a petty conversation because
right,
there's like
right.
somebody feels like they're being maybe blamed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. People feel blamed or scapegoated for
Mhm.
different things, and like you basically are scapegoating. Oh, but like you're
Yeah.
lonely, so you're blaming and scapegoating your wife
Yes.
for you feeling lonely.
Yep.
When in sense, is it about her? Or is it about you?
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
And I don't know, man. I think probably now more than ever, maybe couples probably need to work really hard to keep their sanity with each other and maintain these relationships because it seems like social media and the internet and just life in general just has easily splits people up.
When your husband has lost his faith in you, how do you restore it? How do you show him that your marriage is still fun and exciting? By making him a special video. Not that kind of video.
um so that's why like I like to acknowledge things when they're bad or wrong or something. Hey, this could be something that we should pay
Pay
attention
attention
to.
to. Yeah. I think it's also, I mean, I don't I do this, so I'm sure others have the same issue, but like sometimes it's just a delivery, right? Like I totally see it many times where I'll say some shit and it sometimes I do mean it to blame, but usually I don't. But it'll still come out that way.
Right.
And then also like how what the person's mood is in when they receive it. So my wife in this case, um, but you got to almost work double hard to to get your point across in a way that isn't blaming somebody, so that you can have like a conversation that's more constructive. Because I think you're right. Like if something's not the way it should be optimally, it should be addressed. And if it can be fixed or reconfigured somehow, then that's the way it should
I mean,
be.
everything could be fixed in a real relationship that's
Yeah.
caring and to bring it back to pettiness. My pettiness is not showing like emotion or in Spanish cariño
Yeah.
if I feel that there's unfinished business in terms of like a disagreement or an argument.
Oh, I can't either.
And the thing is that it piles. So like if we didn't finish one and then we added another one and then we added another one, we might be cordial, but it's not repaired. Therefore, it's compounding,
Mm,
and I just can't. Like I'm the petty part of me is like I can't just
turn it off.
negate that there's all this shit that we didn't finish.
Yeah.
And that's the petty side of me. And I'm the petty, and also I won't continue arguing about something. So I feel like I'm in my relationship, I'm the big arguer. I'm the one that does the big explosion arguments.
Yeah.
And I feel like my wife is more of the consistent smaller things. So
Got it.
that cycle terrible.
Yeah, so she'll be the one that's poking more consistently. You'll go longer, but your explosions are probably just as, they're fucking volcanic eruptions.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're both Geminis. That's the thing. We have this
Oh yeah,
Gemini dynamic
yeah,
that anybody that's ever been Gemini with Gemini understands it, and it's pretty wild. But
yeah.
again, my optimism in relationships is that if you truly care about your family and you truly, you know, and you started a family, and I like that the old school way of thinking. It's like you don't just abandon ship. You don't just go squirrel and then that's it. And
Yeah.
like I just feel like people too easily give up on relationships, and I like that old school grandparents relationships that we saw that they obviously went through a lot of shit,
Mm-hmm.
but they stuck it out. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's hard, but it's worth it in the end.
I was talking to a buddy of mine this past week, and he's all of his kids are now out of the house. He's probably mid 50s. He's not super old. He just had kids young. So I'm like, and I probably said it on the podcast many times, but like I always talk my shit, and I'm like, I can't wait till I'm an empty nester. I could run around the house butt ass naked, all this shit, right?
Listen, this is the sound of your house when you're an empty nester. Listen to this. Did you hear that? You know what that was? Nothing.
And I had like a somber moment with him because he's experiencing that right now. And
Right.
the relationship with him and his wife is different now. It's at a different stage now that they don't have kids in the house. So there's like this interesting dynamic that kind of now, because his youngest, the baby, is now out of the house. That connection between kid and parents in the household has now been severed, right? And so the hustle and bustle of dealing with your kids while they're at home and all that stuff came to like a screeching halt now. And so not having enough time now turned into having tons of time.
Right.
And that's a crazy adjustment for him and his wife.
Oh yeah.
And the emotional toll that now that takes on them. It's like, yo, when they walk by their son's room, they probably tear up, right? Like they're just an easy reminiscing session. Like, yo, remember this? And Google Photos and Apple Pics doesn't help you because it kind of brings you back 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it's a really like interesting thing. And it made me think twice about even saying the shit that I kept saying. Like, yo, I can't wait. Cause I know I'm gonna be the sap that's gonna be
Nah,
standing in front of that room, like, oh my God, why did I keep saying that? You
bro,
know,
I
so
have young ones, and I can't. I'll never say that. I am dreading the day that these kids are older and more independent, and God, and then I'll go off to whatever,
yeah.
leave the home. Like I can't imagine it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
I mean, it's like anything, bro. It's part of life, but it's not always smooth. Shit sucks.
It's not, man. On some more somber stuff, and like I've thought to myself, should I bring this up? But I just think, whatever. It's worth bringing up. And I think I told you on text about the situation. So you came to our Crazy Hood Day event,
Yeah.
and involved in that event. I had two homies from the scene, from the Miami local scene here, that have been doing stuff, and they had been doing stuff at the venue that we did
Yeah.
it at, and we partnered with them last year to do it at the venue, and I partnered with them again this year for the event. And everything, obviously you were there, everything went pretty well,
Yeah.
and everybody was on a super high from the event, both of the people that we involved. And one of them, I'll name him just because it's out in the open already. It's people are mourning, but one of the homies, Sunday was the event. Thursday, he's texting me about at 11 p.m. about thanking me for doing the event with them, and thanking me for the event, and just on a high, because it's just such a high note for the local
Yeah.
scene. And just, just being very thankful. And I in turn was like, nah, it was a team effort, man. Thank you, blah blah blah. And the next morning he was found dead.
Mm. Yeah, I remember you
Um,
telling.
I believe by his mother. He had
Oh,
recently, I think, moved in with his mother. And what's crazy for me is that I was on my way to the airport when I found out, to go to Vegas, for coming off the high of our event, now going to another high, which is Complex Con, to interview Dre and Snoop, which is
yeah.
something like I'm considering a highlight of my career.
Mhm.
And to hear that news, but what really really crushed me about that news, obviously, I'm the person leaving this earth is sad enough, but just knowing that a lot of our conversations also were around that he's a father of three, and that one of his kids, I think his daughter, just recently went to college, and he was proud of his son, who I forgot what he told me his son was doing, but he was a father of three teenagers, ranging in young teen to older teen, and very proud of his kids, and from what I know, very active in his kids' lives. And he had a contentious relationship, I think, with the mother or whatever. But that's what really, really crushed me in the moment, because when I heard about the news, it was in the morning, probably not long after he was actually found.
Mhm.
And it came through indirectly through like friends of family, like people who kind of were connected to the family that got to us. Um, so we kind of found out pretty early, and just the idea of those kids, and he's in his early 40s. Nothing was pointing at anything. He
Health
had no
wise.
illness or anything.
Yeah.
And so to just think about what that family's going through and what those kids are going through, and it's like that's the one fear I have in life, is leaving my kids too early. And I always beat myself up thinking I'm not doing enough to like make sure that I take every single precaution to not have something happen to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to bring down the mood, but
No, man, that's real shit. And it's it's so sad because I feel like we hear news like that, maybe not as close to home, but we hear it way too freaking often. I feel like every month I hear same kind of situation. Um, Father, early mid 40s, maybe early 50s, passes away. Usually it's like heart attack. I hear, leaving kids behind. Like, bro, like it's terrible. And I have never had the opportunity, and I don't think I want. I don't think I could bring myself to even having a conversation with these people after the fact. But like talking to these kids after that and seeing like what their life is like, not like obviously not like immediately following, but like give it a year. Like, yo, can you imagine like Christmas without your dad at that stage in life and all these moments that you now can't even have? Like,
just I put myself in the shoes of hearing that news so all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
yeah,
and right before the holidays. I'm also bringing this up because tonight I'm going to the viewing. Um, and I'll be there seeing obviously seeing the
yeah,
family.
yeah,
But yeah, man, it's super scary stuff, and I mean, obviously condolences to his entire family and close friends, and it just sucks, man, to be on such a high from our event. Like, he really was on a super high from it. Just for that to happen, man, is just incredibly sad.
yeah, man. Rest in peace, and yeah, condolences to the family. And
Yeah.
after such a iconic moment too, like him having a part in that, and I'm sure like
He was riding. I'm telling you, he was riding high. He actually was a little worried that I was upset with him. I
hmm,
heard
oh okay,
through my friend that, because I was, they're not usually in my circle of doing things this is the second time that I work with them. I mean, I've known these guys for a long time in the scene, but working closely.
Yeah.
And I like things a certain way, and I'm used to just doing things a certain way. And I'm kind of like, this is, mine and Crazy Hood's event. So it's like I'm very particular about a lot of things. So, I was just like on top of a lot of things. And I
Sure.
told him when I was disappointed in some of the things that I expected from him and the other guy. And I was very honest, but I was doing that to make them better as well. And so he had, I had heard that, oh man, is he upset with me? And that made me feel bad too, that he might have thought that I was upset with him. I wasn't upset with him. And I'm glad. But the one thing I am glad is that our last message, while he's thanking me, I'm reiterating to him, it was a team effort. Like this is you. Thank you as well,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all intents and purposes, it ended kind of on a positive.
Yeah.
The combo with him. Bro, it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how to pivot right now, but I'm about to try.
Okay.
So I was reading an article about a mom in Georgia who got arrested for essentially child neglect. So she left her 10-year-old son at home alone. You know how kids are; they can't stay still. So
Right.
this 10-year-old decided he was going to go walk to the dollar store, which was about a mile away. A neighbor sees the kid walking down the street by himself, calls the cops. Cops come, pick up the kid, and then, take him back home, find the mom, arrest her. So now she's facing charges for child abandonment. And I guess that's back in the day, I would consider that kind of a latchkey kid situation, right? Now they're calling that free range parenting. Right?
I mean, I don't know what they call it now, but
No, I'm saying, but that what I just described, you can
100%.
with
Because I was a latchkey kid. Like I'm
Right.
trying to think of the age. That's why I was like thinking.
Oh,
like,
yeah. 10,
like
10 feels a little young, but it's probably around there.
What age is fifth grade?
Yeah. 10.
Yeah, fifth and sixth grade. My elementary school's across the street. My mom worked evenings. And I would go home and go by myself, and I would walk to school and walk to. But I'm thinking about that now with my kid, and I'm like, I can't imagine
There's no
that.
way.
Even just the way we used to play, like just go outside and we would be all over the fucking place.
Yep. Freestyling by yourself all over the neighborhood.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I do remember that my mom, like, okay, so I was a latchkey kid, but my memory, if my recollection is correct, what it was is if my mom would do something late at night, then I had to stay with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was this old lady in the neighborhood that my mom would like leave me at. Mercedes, this old Cuban lady. Her balcony. Just quick funny fact about her. This Cuban old lady, her balcony to her apartment faced the street, right by where we would have to cross to go to like the little plaza across the street. I remember whenever I would be crossing the street, I would hear, Eddie, ¿qué tú estás haciendo? She was like the watchdog, dude.
Oh, we had a couple of those on my block.
She was the one, and on top, she knew me well because sometimes she would take care of me.
Right.
But yeah, but other than nights, I was free range, so to say.
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, that's how most of us. Yo, it's funny. I don't know if I've told this story before, but like, I was probably one of the more sheltered kids in my neighborhood. Like, my mom was diligent. She wasn't trying to let me go out. She would make excuses, all types of shit. So, if the sun was out, right? Let's say it was like 9 a.m. and sometimes, I mean, rarely, but let's say kids are outside playing or whatever. She'd be like, I'd be like, yo, ma, let me go downstairs. She'd be like, nah, it's too early. I'd be like, yo, but everybody's outside. Who cares? No, it's too early. Wait till later. All right, later comes around. Let's say it's midday. Sun is beaming. No, you can't go outside. You're going to get skin cancer. It's too sunny outside. This is peak sun time. You got to wait till after. All right, cool. 5:30. Yo, it's popping outside. Let me go. The sun's coming down. What are you doing? You can't go outside. Same thing crossing the street. My mother be like, My mother used to pretend like she needed help crossing the street to hold my hand because she didn't want me to cross by myself. So I wasn't the one that had a lot of opportunity. I still found my way out and all that stuff, got my independence, but even the little bit that I did experience, it was still very, compared to how my kids are right now, free range like a mofo compared to what I allow my kids to do. And I'm struggling with that as a parent because there's so much to gain from being able to have some of those experiences in a relatively confined kind of setup.
All right.
But on the flip, like there's so much that they can get involved in that they probably don't even know how to handle, and other bad shit can happen.
All right.
So like the other day, I'm telling my son, like, yo, you got to work. If you really want to play ball at a high level, you got to work on your game beyond just practice. Like you got to go to the park, play against each people, whatever. And the reality is, like, it's hard for me to break away from work when he's here from school, like to go take him and spend time in the park. So luckily we're like really close to a park. And I'm like, all right, how do we do this? So my wife, my oldest daughter, and I are trying to figure out, all right, how do we tag team this situation so we have enough coverage so that he can go, we're close enough. So give him a little bit of that longer leash, but not be over top of him. So, but age, I mean, he's 11.
So what does that what does that look like? Dropping him off or staying there?
It would be dropping him off and being nearby. Like not in our house, but like, I don't know, a minute away, like being able to see him. You know what I mean?
And that's a minute away?
Not less probably, but like, outside of where the basketball court is, which is
with his knowledge that you're able to see him or no?
Yeah. He would know. He'd know we're nearby. But with the intention of like, yo, go do your thing and see how that, because like he's earned enough trust now. And that's the other thing. It's like, if my kids show me that we can trust them and they know how to move in certain circumstances, it helps. But then there's the variable of, yo, there's people out there that know more, have been through wild shit, and so they can manipulate the situation more than my kid might know how.
You got to know your kid.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, man, it's a jungle out here. But can you imagine, like, how many of our parents would have been arrested like this lady for leaving their kid at home alone? Like, tons.
Dude, I used to make my own dinner. Like,
yeah. Like it's wild, bro.
I mean, so wild. I'm the thing is, I don't really quite remember, like, that could have been maybe it wasn't every day for me. I don't really remember. I just remember having that access for a certain amount of time where I had the key. I would go home and that was it. Yeah. And then my mom would come home, in the afternoon, like later after work, like 5 or 6, and I would get out of school at like
3:33. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but a lot can happen in those 2-3 hours, bro.
I mean, dude, a lot of shit used to happen. Well, I'm talking about playing outside regularly, like when my mom knew I was outside. Yeah. But man, we would end up on miles away, miles away in some other neighborhood, going through, and it was funny because the movies at that time inspired these adventures. You wanted to be like the kids in these movies that had all these crazy adventures.
Don't stop, I'm already late. Late for what? I'm going on an adventure.
So I'm not saying that we reenacted it, but it's just like that was what you did as a kid back then. You went out and you seeked adventure.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that adventure was a little bit risky. Or dangerous. And would get you close to some shit.
Yo, I remember, I mean, I was older, but you remember the AOL chat rooms when dial-up was hot? Bro. I put myself in situations that in slightly different circumstances, I wouldn't be on this planet anymore. Like just chasing tail. You do?
Oh, like, yeah.
That whole age, sex, location thing. When
that was a terrible era. That was a wild, wild west of that stuff,
bro. Like, how easy it could have been for me to get kidnapped or molested or
Yeah,
Killed.
no, it was nuts. It was nuts. That era was nuts, dude. There's things that I told my mom later on in life that she's like, wow,
I would
thank
have never
God
guessed.
you never told me this back then, because I would have lost it. There's definitely a lot of things that went down. Yeah, it's a different time, man. I don't know, and me amongst my groups, my peers, I have the younger kids in my group, so I don't even know what my kids, relative to my friends and you guys and all you guys with kids, what their next couple of years are going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, college is on the very immediate horizon for my oldest. So that's a whole nother ball game of variables that I need to concern myself with. Trust her implicitly. I think she has sound judgment, so that helps, but she's going out into the wilderness basically and got to
Do
figure
you
it
ever,
out.
yeah, and talking about that point, actually, and what we said about before about like the like having appreciating the time when they're little.
Mm,
Part of me is like, I just want to know that they're okay, and they grew up and they're in college and they made it and they're great. So part of me wants to fast forward to that just to know
yeah.
they're fine. And
Yeah.
the other part of me is like, no, like I want to keep them this young,
Mm-hmm.
but I have all this unknown time frame that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Um, Shifting a little bit, do you ever find yourself judging parents at the school?
Yeah, all the fucking time,
Yeah.
bro.
And I feel like I'm the last person that should be judging anyone. They're probably judging me if they know anything about me. They're like crazy hood, who's crazy, drink
Oh,
champs,
totally.
you know, this hip hop DJ, like probably, if they listen to anything I put out musically, in the past few decades, is not a good look
Yeah.
in terms of like being a parent and the subject matters.
Yes.
But
One
but I
one
find
song one song just came to mind that I won't mention. But
yeah, but but I find myself looking at these parents and I'm like, yo, man, who are these hood ass people, man? Like, and it'd be all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds, but I just be like, who are these people, man? I don't want these parents and their kids around my kid.
All right, it's time to play These Are People.
Yeah. Yeah. These are people. All about people. ABC. All the people. Look at those
Okay,
people. 1, 2,
Maria,
3.
select your person.
Oh my God, what is happening?
Just pick a person.
I just pick a person.
Any person.
I'm gonna go for the dude in the middle.
bro, I find myself doing that often, but at the same time, I kind of reverse it. I try to catch myself because I look at it from my kid's lens. I try to, right? Because knock on wood, like my kids gravitate toward a cool group of kids, at least now. Like
Right.
everybody's got their shit. The way parents decide to parent their kids is going to be different. I try to respect all of it unless it impedes on my ability to parent my kids in my own way, which it hasn't. But I see kind of how these kids interact and, when they start pushing boundaries, how my kids interact and try to, balance things out. I think that's super healthy. So it almost kind of like removes that initial judgment I might have had and kind of helps me level it out.
But you're talking about the kids.
Well, I'm talking about both
I'm
because
talking about the parents.
I know, but it's a reflection of the parents. That's how I look at it. So
But your kids are older. I'm talking. See,
Yeah.
I'm not blaming any little kid, like as a reflection of the parents necessarily. Like they're little, they're little. I'm looking at the parents, what that kid eventually is going to turn into. What
that's
that
what
kid will eventually reflect that parent.
I don't have a lot of parents that I'm like worried that they're gonna turn out like their kids are gonna turn out like them.
I'm not worried. It's just I don't know. I just find and I'm gonna be upfront. I'm being a total hypocrite here.
Yeah.
Because who am I? You know what I'm saying?
So you're like almost you're looking at the parent and how they move. You're looking at the kid and you're forecasting. Damn, that kid's gonna be just like their parents in 10 years, 20 years.
Nah, I'm telling you, I'm excluding the kid. The kid is an
that's not
innocent
even in the
bystander. They're not in the equation. I'm just looking at the parents because part of me wants to see these tight ass square parents, like the idea of what we saw growing up in sitcoms, like the parents, what they look like. That's what I want to see in a parent.
Okay.
Like, hey, how you doing, Bob? Hey, what's going on, George? Like, instead, I'm seeing like a lady with like Daisy Dukes and like tattoos up to the top of her thighs and showing cleavage, or another lady here with that she did plastic surgery on everything and she looks like 10 balloons are popping out of her body,
Yeah.
or or a dude that looks like he just smoked like a half a pound, or a dude that even says, yo, I love Drink Champs. I'm like, why are you watching Drink Champs, bro? You're a parent.
Why do you know who I am?
Like I said, I'm being a total hypocrite and I'm no one to be talking, but that's what's going through my mind. And God forbid anybody listens to this that's a parent in school. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's what you think about me, dog?
Nah. I get what you mean. So, speaking of like the old shows, I love your impersonations, by the way. Yo, I just happened to be flipping through one of the streaming channels I watch, and Married with Children popped up.
Oh,
Yo,
man.
I locked in immediately. I haven't seen that show in forever. And then I'm thinking back, like, again, to connect it back to like the 10-year-old that was walking by himself for a mile. Like, I was probably around 10, maybe 12 when that show was out.
Right.
I was watching that shit religiously. And I'm listening to Al Bundy and Peggy talk. And I was like, yo, they would be so canceled right now, even for half the stuff that they were saying.
Oh, yep, for sure.
But I was like, yo, you kind of need that balance though. Like low key, I was like, I'm gonna watch more of this. I'm gonna put this in my regular rotation now.
Yeah, I think we live in a weird time where it's like people say shit that you're like, that's cancelable, right? That's what's supposed to be canceled, and then nothing happens, and then someone says something that you don't even think is that bad, and they're like getting canceled. You're like, yo, I don't understand what's cancelable, what's not cancelable, or who's cancelable and who's not cancelable. Like, I don't even think I don't know, man. That shit's weird.
It's too strict, right? Because like, yo, and I'm not condoning some of the stuff that went on when we were growing up, but you found your way, right? Like, yo, snapping on people was par for the course, bro. If you didn't know how to snap or get snapped on and kind of retaliate, yo, you was dead in the water. So you had to develop that. And a lot of it was really fucked up. Like, it was talking crazy about you, your family, your complexion, where you came, all of that. All that was on the table. And while, like, you do that today, like, somebody, God forbid, would, like, want to off themselves because it was too much. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I feel like some of that offends
a whole swath of people.
Right. Like there's a balance I think that needs to happen because some of that is like just in fun to a degree. Some of it is meant to be hurtful, but like you gotta be able to like, all right, if it really pierced the nerve, like yo, let's shoot a fair one. Not let me go get the gun or the knife or whatever. Right. Like there's gotta be some balance.
I think when it comes to like media stuff, I always get annoyed how people get so offended and want to voice it because I'm just like, man, we live in a time frame where you could watch whatever you want whenever you want. Just turn it off.
Turn it off.
Just unsubscribe. Just don't look at it. But nope. That's the society we are in now. Is like, I want to seek what I want to cancel. Then I want to identify what's going to be canceled. And then I want to voice it to that person or that entity that they are canceled. That's ridiculous, man. That's a waste of energy and time.
Too much.
Let the market cancel it. Stop watching, stop viewing. They won't get any sponsors or they won't get any attention. Yeah, they got canceled.
I mean, that's the most powerful. Got hurt. The dollar and where you choose to spend it is probably one of the most powerful signals of decisions being made across everything. So like, let that shit talk.
All right. But they want to couple that with public humiliation and public
pettiness. See? Yeah. Oh shit. We track back to being petty. They want to see somebody suffer.
Petty gang mafia.
Petty gang. All right, I gotta run, bro. I gotta go figure out some stuff over here because we got my son's got a tournament. His team is playing for the championship in his AAU basketball tonight. So it's a big deal over here. So we got a lot of stuff to do.
All right.
So I will holler at you, my brother.
Yeah, man.
And to you lovely listeners, thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, you, Bob. You're one of a kind, Bob.
Our Patreon.
Our non-existent Patreon. Thank you for contributing to our Patreon. All right, y'all. Till next week. Peace.